The cramped apartment reeked of stale coffee and regret, its surfaces cluttered with a chaotic assortment of half-closed folders, crumpled papers, and forgotten aspirations. Shadows clung to the corners, as if reluctant to unveil the secrets lurking within the mounds of deceit that defined Wendell Noxhaven's existence. He stood hunched over a rickety desk, his dark brown hair tousled, revealing a jagged scar that sliced across his left eyebrow, a testament to his turbulent past. The flickering overhead bulb cast an erratic glow, mirroring the erratic rhythm of his heartbeat as he prepared for a phone call that could either redeem his fractured credibility or plunge him deeper into moral ambiguity. Wendell's fingers danced nervously over the screen of his phone, the weight of his impending conversation palpable in the stale air. He swallowed, the bitterness of self-doubt festering in his throat as he tapped the call button. "Hello, is this Vesper Wraithmoor?" he croaked, striving for a smooth tone that eluded did. The voice on the other end was composed, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling in Wendell's gut. "Yes, who is this?" The way she pronounced his name felt like ice creeping down his spine, a reminder that he was stepping into treacherous waters. "Right now, I have some information that catch a thought." The weights tangled in his mind. How could he possibly frame his intentions without revealing the stench of his own desperation? "I was hoping to discuss the recent developments regarding the political prisoner." His voice trembled slightly, betraying the facade he desperately tried to maintain. He could hear the rustling of papers on her end, a sound that felt like judgment, piercing through the clutter in his soul. "I'm listening," Vesper replied, her tone clipped and businesslike, yet he sensed an undercurrent of skepticism threading through her words. The silence that followed was thick with unspoken tension. Wendell glanced around the apartment, feeling the weight of every dishonest experience pressing down on him. Each document he had meticulously crafted now felt like a shackle, chaining him to a life of deceit. He opened his mouth, ready to unleash his rehearsed pitch, but the uncertainty flickered like a weak flame, threatening to blow out with a zill breath. Before he could speak, a sudden chill swept through him, a visceral reminder of the truth he had buried beneath layers of falsehoods.
Could he really continue down this path?
The flickering bulb overhead buzzed, and in that moment he felt the tremor of his own moral compass shifting. "Listen, Vesper," and his voice wavered again, the confession bubbling to the surface like bile. "There are things I need to tell you, things I've kept hidden." He paused, the decision weighing heavily in the air, and he realized that the information he was about to divulge could either bind him to her forever or free him from the chains of his own creation. The connection faltered as his resolve wavered, the weight of his choices pressing down. Vesper's impatience crackled through the line, but Wendell could only hear the ebb of his own heartbeat, pounding like a war drum in his ears. He was at a crossroads, teetering on the brink of revelation or retreat. The clutter around him seemed to close in, suffocating his burgeoning honesty. Would he choose the path of redemption, or would he let the moment slip away, drowning himself in the murky waters of his deceit? As the seconds stretched that taut wire, Wendell's heart raced with the thrill of impending change. He could almost taste the possibility of redemption on the tip of his tongue, yet the familiar pull of self-preservation tugged insistently at his core. With a sharp inhale, he steadied himself, the weight of his choice hanging precariously in the air. "Vesper, Aaron," he began, his voice thick with urgency, but the words stalled, caught in an emotional chokehold. Somewhere beyond the clutter and the chaos, a new resolve began to take shape, but the stakes were higher than Ned. Would he finally confront the truth, or would he turn away, spiraling deeper into the abyss of his own making? The call continued, unanswered, but alive with possibility, as the momentum of his journey pressed forward into the unknown. The underground meeting room breathed with a damp heaviness, cloaked in shadows, punctuated by the flickering glow of a single weary bulb swinging from the ceiling. Its light danced across the worn stone walls, illuminating the dust motes that floated like forgotten memories in the stale air. The scent of mildew mingled uncomfortably with the metallic tang of unearthed secrets, creating a disquieting atmosphere. Wendell Noxhaven, leaning against a scarred wooden table, eyed his mentor, Vesper Wraithmoor, whose icy blue gaze pierced through the gloom. She was an imposing figure, her platinum hair pulled into a tight bun, a raven tattoo peeking out from her tailored sleeve, each detail lending her an air of authority that Wendell both feared and respected. In this oppressive silence, anticipation coiled tightly in the air, as if their conversation would unravel the very fabric of their fates. Vesper leaned forward, her fingers steepled as she began to recount the tale that had haunted her for years.
You must understand, Wendell, that the truth of Elias Drager is a curse, not merely a story.
His suffering is woven into the very fabric of our struggle.
Those who seek to uncover it often find themselves ensnared by darker forces. Her voice, low and resonant, echoed off the walls, and Wendell felt a chill skitter down his spine. He swallowed hard, his heart racing as her words painted a vivid image of the political prisoner superwoman, a man tortured for his beliefs, bound to a fate that felt all too familiar to Wendell himself. But isn't that the point, Vesper? Wendell's voice was urgent, tinged with an obsessive fervor that made the shadows around them seem to close in tighter.
His story deserves to be told.
How can we let fear dictate our action? What if uncovering the truth could ignite a fire that burns through this darkness? He leaned in, the tabe creaking under his weight to hope, and desperation intertwined in his chest, igniting a dangerous spark in his hazel eyes. Vesper's expression shifted. Concern etched itself alongside the familiarity of her resolve.
You don't understand what you are asking for, Wendell.
So truths are best left buried, hidden away like the bones of the past. His excitement clashed against her caution, igniting a tempest between them. But what if I'm not afraid? What if the truth is what we need to shatter this illusion? Wendell's voice was barely above a whisper now, each word thick with intensity as he fought against the fear creeping through him.
The air felt charged, the oppressive atmosphere thick enough to cut.
He could sense Vesper's unease. She searched his gaze, looking for the remnants of the man she once knew, but all she found was a desperate soul teetering on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the abyss in search of validation. Vesper finally sighed, the tension in her shoulders easing just a fraction.
Then know this, Wendell. Once you step into that abyss, you may not return unscathed.
The truth is a double-edged sword, and wielding it could cost you everything, and those you care about. Are you prepared for that? Her words hung in the air, heavy with meaning, and for the first time, he hesitated, the weight of his obsessive quest colliding with a flicker of doubt. Yet, in the depths of his heart, he felt the relentless pull of his purpose, the flame of curiosity igniting anew despite the shadows looming overhead. The realization settled in Wendell's gut like a stone as he met Vesper's piercing gaze, a tempest of emotions spiraling within him. A mix of fear, determination, and an unsettling sense of foreboding washed overhead. He could almost taste the bittersweet allure of the truth he sought, a truth that could either redeem him or damn him further into the despair of his past.
Crazy, I have to this, Vesper.
he finally declared, his voice unwavering despite the tremor in his hands. As the shadows twisted around them, swallowing the last flickers of light, he knew he was crossing a threshold from which there would be no turning back. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready to confront it, driven by the haunting specter of Elias Drager's fate, and a desperate need to carve his own story into the annals of truth. The Weeps riverbank lay shrouded in a thick blanket of mist, a ghostly veil clinging to the gnarled trees that lined the shore. Their twisted branches reached out like skeletal fingers, whispering secrets to the wind, while the murky waters of the river glimmered faintly, reflecting the twilight hues of a fading day. The air was heavy with dampness, a chill that seeped through Wendell Noxhaven's worn leather jacket, wrapping around Hid like the jagged scar that marked his brow. Heart-racing, he stood at the river edge, the weight of his quest pressing down on him. Shadows danced at the periphery of his vision, hinting at the secrets this place held, beckoning Hid deeper into the mire of political intrigue and hidden truths. The silence was shattered by the soft crunch of gravel underfoot. Wendell turned sharply, his hazel eyes locking onto the figure emerging from the mist. Vesper Wraithmoor advanced with an air of confidence, her tailored suit clinging to her curvy form like armor. The icy blue of her eyes pierced through the fog, assessing Hid with a predatory gaze.
Great to see you coming. Who should meet Paul for
What truth do you seek this time? More lies to feed your insatiable ego? Her voice dripped with a mix of disdain and amusement, a dangerous cocktail that made Wendell pulse quicken. Wendell straightened, the chill of her presence igniting a fire within him.
I'm here to uncover the truth, Vesper.
Something your ilk, have tried so hard to bury. Elias Drager deserves justice, and I won't let you silence me again. His words hung heavy in the air, the tension thick enough to cut. The mist swirled dulled them, wrapping their confrontation in an ethereal fog, as if the very landscape bore witness to their clash. Vesper's lips curled into a sly smile, but there was no warmth in it, only the promise of conflict. The truth is a dangerous thing, Wendell.
Racy personally upon.
Joe, team success, sorry about.
You will lose everything.
Do you truly wish to drag others down with you? Her challenge struck his deeper than her words should have, igniting a flicker of doubt in him, but it was extinguished by the haunting thought of Drager's fate. His resolve hardened into a shield.
Let them come.
If this river holds the answers, I'm prepared to cross it. As the last echoes of their heated exchange faded, Wendell glanced back at the dark waters of the Weeps River, the mist swirling like a tempestuous spirit. He took a breath, the air thick with the weight of impending choices. Knowing that this was not merely about unveiling the truth, it was a reckoning, a confrontation with the shadows of his past. The stakes had risen. A final glance at Vesper's inscrutable expression solidified his determination. With a heart pulsing with adrenaline, he stepped forward, crossing the threshold into a world fraught with peril, where every truth uncovered could unleash a storm far greater than he had imagined. The dimly lit office of the headquarters felt like a tomb, its walls lined with heavy drapes that absorbed the sulphurous light of the flickering bulb overhead. Dust motes danced lazily in the stale air, settling on the haphazardly stacked files that teetered like forgotten secrets. Wendell Noxhaven stood at the entrance, his heart thrumming in his chest, a jagged scar on his brow catching the light as he squinted into the gloom. The scent of aged paper mingled with something more acrid, the unmistakable odor of corruption that clung to this place like a shroud. He could almost feel the weight of Vesper Wraithmoor's icy gaze before he even saw her, the corrupt official whose twisted smile hinted at the darker games she played beneath her tailored exterior. Determination surged within him, propelling Hat forward into the lion den, where truth was as elusive as the shadows lurking behind her desk. Vesper leaned back in her leather chair, fingers steepled beneath her chin, regarding Wendell with an amused tilt to her lips. You think you can waltz in here and demand answers, Wendell? This isn't a schoolyard. You're playing with fire, and I owe the matches. Her voice was smooth, but it carried an undercurrent of steel, a warning disguised as playful banter. Wendell clenched his jaw, meeting her steely blue eyes. He shoved his hands into the pockets of his worn leather jacket, feeling the roughness of the fabric against his palms as he steadied himself.
I don't love the curse, Vesper.
Rape is deceiving. I know it needs to silence anyone who dares question your authority.
This town deserves the truth. A flicker of irritation crossed Vesper features, and the air thickened with tension as she leaned forward, her platinum hair catching the dim light.
You're out of your depth, Wendell.
This isn't just about you or what you think you've uncovered.
One misstep, and you won't just be the story. You'll be the warning.
Walk away while you still can. Wendell heart raced, the warning echoing in his mind as he felt the weight of her threat sink in. Yet something deep within him ignited an insatiable need to push back.
I would stop until I get to the bottom of this. You may hold the reins now, but every evil has its reckoning.
Racy, I'm not afraid of your threats. His voice grew steadier, each word a defiant pulse that drove it forward. Vesper lips curled into a predatory smile, her gaze narrowing as she considered him. A moment stretched, the silence heavy as if caught in a web of mutual recognition.
You're bold, Wendell.
I'll give you that, she purred, a flicker of respect mingled with menace. But remember, every action has its consequences. You want your answers? Find them in the dark corners where even the bravest dare not tread. But tread carefully, or you may find that the curse isn't the only thing that can haunt you. With that, Wendell caught a hint of something precious, a piece of intelligence that slipped through like smoke, igniting his resolve even as the weight of Vesper threat loomed larger in his mind. As Wendell left the suffocating confines of the office, the door clicked shut behind him with an ominous finality. The air out felt cooler, a sharp contrast to the stifling atmosphere within. A sense of urgency propelled him forward, the echo of Vesper, warning ringing in his ears like a siren call. He had entered her lair seeking truth, but now he was ensnared in a deadly game, the stakes higher than he had anticipated. Yet, with each step, determination coursed through his veins. He would unravel the curse and expose the corruption that had festered for far too long. There was no turning back. The Weep's riverbank lay shrouded in the weight of twilight, the dark waters sighing softly against the ancient stones that lined its edge. Gnarled trees, their branches twisted like the secrets they guarded, reached out towards the horizon, where the last vestiges of sunlight bled into a bruised sky. A thick mist wove through the air, curling down Wendell Noxhaven's legs as he ventured deeper into the overgrown path. The scent of damp earth mingled with the faintest hint of decay, a reminder of the mystery that lay ahead. With each careful step, his heart thrummed in rhythm with the river's gentle pulse, the jagged scar across his left eyebrow catching the fading light. He squinted into the shadows, a feeling of dread mixing with the flicker of hope ignited by his search for the truth. Wendell paused, his breath hitching as he caught sight of something half buried in the mud. The artifact, An intricate piece of what might have been ancient jewelry glowed faintly, a pulse of warm light against the dark, damp earth. Knelt, fingertips, brushing the cool, smooth surface, feeling a strange energy radiating from it. This could change everything, he murmured to himself, the ghost of a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Just then, a rustle nearby pulled his attention, and he jerked his head up, the hopeful thrill of discovery suddenly overshadowed by an acute sense of danger. A figure emerged from the mist, a woman with striking, platinum blonde hair and an aura that commanded respect. Wendell recognized her instantly. Vesper Wraithmoor, a local journalist whose loyalties lay shrouded in ambiguity. "What are you doing out here in Noxhaven?" she asked, her icy blue eyes narrowing as they met his, skepticism etched into her features. Wendell swallowed his excitement, hastily concealing the artifact beneath his jacket.
Right receiving hours. Yay.
Might be linked to the curse.
Right receiving.
"We need to a door before you could finish." The faint sound of footsteps echoed in the distance, sharp and deliberate, cutting through the delicate stillness of the evening.
Wendell's heart raced. The urgency of the moment, adrenaline coursing through his veins.
Right receiving hours. Cool. Yay.
Vesper's gaze flickered back toward the sound, a mixture of alarm and curiosity dancing in her expression. "You don't know what you're meddling with," she snapped, but the tension in the air was palpable. Just as they turned to leave, a shadow darted between the trees, a figure cloaked in darkness, and Wendell felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. The glow of the artifact pulsed against his chest, a reminder of the hope it represented. But now it felt like a beacon, a target for those who hunted it. "I didn't mean to endanger anyone, I was just," Wendell began, but Vesper's steely gaze silenced hid.
This isn't just your fight, Noxhaven.
"You can't rush in without considering the consequences. These people won't hesitate to come after you and anyone near you too." As she stepped back, assessing their surroundings with a hunter instinct, Wendell felt the weight of his decisions settle heavily on his shoulders. The night deepened, shadows thickening around them, and he realized that they were no longer just uncovering the curse. They were now part of a larger Een, with far greater stakes than he had imagined.
The mist thickened, swirling like the uncertainty in Wendell's mind.
Glanced at Vesper, her expression resolute yet wary, and felt the weight of the artifact pressing against his chest, a reminder of what was at stake. As the sound of footsteps drew nearer, he made a choice, a flicker of defiance igniting within Neh. "If we survive this, we have to share what we found." People need to know the truth, no matter the risk. He stepped further into the shadows, determination solidifying in his heart. This wasn't just about redemption anymore, it was about protecting those who remained in the dark, and he wouldn't let fear dictate his next move. The meeting space was tucked away in an unremarkable build, its walls adorned with faded posters proclaiming justice and unity. Light filtered through grimy windows, casting a dull glow on the anxious faces that within. Wendell Noxhaven stood at the center, his lean frame taut with anticipation as he clutched a stack of papers, the ink smudged and worn from countless revisions. The air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and sweat, underscored by a palpable tension that crackled like static. Around Din, local activists shifted in their seats, their eyes reflecting uncertainty and hope in equal measure. They, too, were haunted by the rampant corruption that plagued their community, And Wendell, fueled by desperation, felt the weight of his obsession closing in like a vise. He had to make them see the truth, no matter the cost. Wendell took a deep breath, his heart racing as he addressed the room, the words tumbling from his lips like a boulder cascading down a hill.
We can't let them silence us anymore.
This corrupt official has buried the truth under lies, and it's our responsibility to bring it to light. His voice echoed off the walls, each syllable infused with urgency. The activists leaned forward, their collective energy igniting as they listened. But the frigid gaze of Vesper Wraithmoor, her icy blue eyes narrowed, sent a shiver down his spine. She had always been cautious, her skepticism a foil to his reckless fervor.
What of your methods, Wendell?
"Are we to trust a man who has danced with shadows?" she replied, her tone sharp yet laced with concern. The room fell silent, the weight of her words heavy in the air. Wendell clenched his jaw, the memory of past mistakes flashing through his mind like a strobe light.
Right mistakes, yes, but don't we well?
It about what we can do to fight for justice. He gestured emphatically to the papers, his hands trembling slightly as he held them aloft, the evidence of his labor. The activists exchanged glances, their murmurs rising and falling like the tide. But before he could build the momentum he craved, a familiar figure stepped forward, casting a long shadow over his resolve. From the back, Marcus Layton, a once trusted ally, raised an eyebrow, his voice oozing with mockery.
Oh, come on, Wendell.
You think they'll follow you into the depths of your madness?
You're a man haunted by your own failures.
The revelation struck like a thunderclap, reverberating through the room. Gasps echoed as Marcus revealed Wendell's darkest secrets, the reckless investigations, the ethical breaches, and the rumors that had followed dead like a ghost. Wendell's heart plummeted. The betrayal cut deep, isolating he in a sea of hostile gazes. He faltered. The truth of his obsession laid bare before the very people he sought to unite, their hope morphing into suspicion, like mist dissipating in the morning sun. As the murmurs of doubt swirled downward, Wendell felt the ground shift beneath his feet, the room morphing into a battleground of accusations and half-formed alliances.
He stood there, breathless and exposed, the weight of his past racing to claim it once more.
But amid the turmoil, he glimpsed a glimmer of resolve in the eyes of a few activists, a small flicker of solidarity that refused to be extinguished. With clenched fists, he summoned every ounce of courage left within him. "I won't hide anymore. I'll stand against this corruption alone, if I must." The declaration hung in the air, fragile yet defiant. He turned on his heel, determined to forge a new path, one that might lead him deeper into the darkness, but also toward the light he desperately sought. The hidden chamber beneath the town hall lay shrouded in a dense gloom, its air thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying wood. Flickering candles cast wavering shadows across the stone walls, revealing fragments of faded murals, ghosts of a once vibrant community, now haunted by secrets and betrayal. Wendell Noxhaven, his heart hammering against his ribs, stepped inside, the echo of his scuffed boots a harsh reminder of the unraveling path he had chosen. Breath brushed through his tousled dark hair, his hazed eyes scanning the room for the familiar figure of Vesper Wraithmoor, a mentor whose wisdom felt like a lifeline amid the encroaching darkness. The tension pricked at his skin like static, and he knew that what lay ahead could change everything, perhaps not for Hid, but for the town itself. Wendell's breath quickened as he unrolled the crumpled map on the rough-hewn tabe, marked with the web of connections that snared the corrupt official, Harold Grimsey.
"Look at this, Vesper!"
The deals he orchestrating, they extend beyond mere bribery. It a network of manipulation that could topple everything. His voice trembled, urgency clawing at him that he traced the lines with a finger, the pungent scent of candle wax mixing with the mustiness of the chamber. Vesper leaned in, her icy blue eyes narrowing as she examined the map, a raven tattoo peeking from beneath her tailored sleeve.
You've stumbled onto something dangerous, Wendell.
It's Siri.
Screw up that. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about everyone in this town.
Are you prepared for what that means? Her tone was a careful blend of warning and encouragement as she weighed the consequences that loomed dead beyond their grasp. Wendell clenched his jaw, his mind racing with the implication. If I back down now, what does that say about me? He hesitated, the thought of his family seeping into his consciousness like a poison. The flickering candlelight cast a ghostly pallor across his face, revealing the inner turmoil that raged within his. The specter of danger loomed, and he felt the weight of responsibility pressing against his chest. Vesper gaze softened, yet remained unwavering. Biskop thermostobix for its grassing for me to see here salt now armor and lisses.
Heroish doesn't always mean charging into the fray without thought.
Protecting those you love might mean finding a way to expose him without placing them in harm's way.
You need to strategize when you...
This isn't just your fight anymore, it's ours. The gravity of her words hung in the air, a promise of alliance and mutual protection, yet the fear of what was to come surged through him like a cold tide. Wendell inhaled deeply, the mingled scents of candle wax and damp stone filling his lungs, grounding him. Vesper's words echoed in his mind, a stark reminder that the choices before it were not just personal, they were collective. As he rolled the map back up, determination ignited within him. He would confront Grimsby, but he would do so with caution, weaving together a band that would shield his loved ones from the fallout. Yet, even as he stepped back from the Tave, a foreboding shadow crept into his thoughts. Was there truly a way to unearth the truth without losing everything he held dear? The uncertainty loomed over him like a thick mist, whispering of sacrifices yet to be made. The dim light of a single flickering bulb cast wavering shadows across the cluttered expanse of Cyrus Xandros' apartment, a sanctuary turned prison in the depth of night. Piles of worn newspapers and half-empty coffee cups formed haphazard towers, remnants of sleepless nights spent mulling over the weighty truths that danced just beyond their grasp. Outside, the wind howled against the window panes, an eerie symphony that underscored the turmoil within. Cyrus, small and slight against the backdrop of their chaotic surroundings, sank into the worn embrace of a fraying armchair, the fabric rough against their skin. They tugged absently at the strings of their oversized hoodie, feeling the familiar sting of doubt clawing at their insides. The echo of past decisions loomed like a specter, whispering of the innocent lives that hung in the balance of their relentless pursuit. Cyrus' heart sank as they rifled through the crumpled papers spread before them, each note a reminder of their reckless obsession with the political prisoner, a cause that had begun a beacon of hope, yet morph off into a consuming fire. "What have I done?" they murmured, their voice a fragile wisp in the stillness. The shadows seemed to listen, curling as if bearing witness to their unraveling. If Vesper Wraithmoor knew the depths of their findings, there would be no escape. The thought sent a cold shiver racing down their spine, igniting a smoldering dread that threatened to engulf them. They had once believed in the righteousness of their mission, but now it felt like a noose tightening around their throat, pulling them deeper into a dark abyss. They leaned forward, fingers trembling against the crinkled surface of a photograph depicting the prisoner, eyes filled with determination and anguish. This isn't just about the truth anymore, they whispered, a tremor of desperation lacing their resolve. The stakes had escalated beyond personal redemption. The thought of the prisoner or fate, tied to their reckless pursuit, twisted in their chest like a blade. Each revelation they unearthed had only fed Vesper power, and the realization settled like a stone in their stomach.
Right, I see you.
Something daring, they concluded, the flickering light echoing the pulse of their racing heart. An impulsive pay forming like a dark cloud overhead, threatening to unleash chaos. With a final glance at the photograph, Cyrus felt a reckless determination surge within. They couldn't turn back now. The path was set, and the price of inaction was too steep. Rising from the chair, they moved toward the door, their breaths shallow but resolute, the weight of both fear and necessity pushing them forward into the night. "For you," they whispered with a sense of bittersweet resolve, knowing well the dangers that lay ahead.
The chill of the night air greeted them ed. They stepped outside, a harbinger of the storm to come, and in that moment they felt a flicker of hope, igniting amidst the encroaching shadows, setting the stage for a reckoning that could change everything.
The Weeps riverbank lay quiet under the embrace of dusk, its murky waters shimmering like liquid shadows as the sun surrendered its last light. Gnarled trees leaned toward the river, their twisted branches whispering secrets in the rising mist, an ethereal fog curling and the stones worn smooth by time. Wendell Noxhaven stood at the water edge, his silhouette sharp against the fading hues of the twilight sky. A storm brewing within him, as turbulent as the waters before it. The chill air bit at his skin, yet his heart pulsed with a fire he thought long extinguished, ignited by the weight of his purpose. Beside him, Vesper Wraithmoor exuded an icy calm, her platinum hair gleaming in the dim light, the raven tattoo on her wrist a silent witness to their shared resolve.
Remember why we're here, Wendell? Vesper's voice cut through the night, low and commanding like the river relentless current.
Her icy blue eyes met his, steady and piercing, as if she could read the doubts flickering beneath his hardened exterior. This isn't just about you or your redemption.
And about those who can't fight for themselves, the innocent lies caught in the crossfire of corruption.
They depend on us. Wendell clenched his fists, the scars of his past prickling against the fabric of his resolve. He turned his gaze to the water, where the reflection of the dying sun danced on the surface, each ripple a reminder of the lives he had once compromised.
I know what I need to do, Vesper.
Not again! His voice trembled, betraying the storm of emotions swirling within him, the tension of their impending confrontation weighing heavily like the mist that enveloped them. Vesper stepped closer, her presence a fortress against the encroaching shadows.
Then let not waste time.
The official will soon be at the docks, and the window to act is closing.
You need to channel your anger.
Use it, but don't let it consume you. The firmness in her tone, balanced with an undercurrent of empathy, a reminder that beneath their shared purpose lay the ghosts of their individual failures. He nodded, breathing in the cool, damp air, letting the scent of wet earth and moss ground him. The weight of the moment pressed down, yet he felt the flicker of determination rising within. With a final glance at Vesper, he straightened his shoulders, the decision igniting a fierce clarity in his hazed eyes. He was no longer the man defined by his past mistakes. He was becoming the protector he was meant to be, ready to ace the darkness ahead. As they prepared to leave the sanctuary of the riverbank, the quiet murmurs of the Weeps River filled the air, a haunting reminder of the stakes at play. The mist thickened, wrapping round them like a shroud as Wendell took a deep breath, steeling himself for the confrontation that loomed ahead. With each step, the resolve in his heart grew, the shadows of doubt receding like the retreating tide. Vesper, confident stride beside Dee, bolstered his spirit, and just as they reached the path leading toward the docks, the echo of distant voices carried through the night, a prelude to the reckoning that awaited. In that moment, Wendell understood that this was not just a battle for redemption, it was a fight for justice, and he was ready to step into the storm. The office of Vesper Wraithmoor loomed like a fortress of shadows, shrouded in the dim light of a still flickering bulb overhead. Dark wood panels lined the walls, their surface polished to a sinister sheen, reflecting the dismal glow. The air was thick with the scent of stale cigars, and something sharper, or toxic deceit perhaps. Wendell Noxhaven stood at the threshold, his heart pound a staccato rhythm in his chest. The jagged scar over his left eyebrow twisted slightly as he clenched his jaw, summoning every ounce of determination within him. Outside, the distant wail of sirens echoed through the night, a mournful contrast to the oppressive silence of the office. Tonight, it was all or nothing. He would confront Vesper, the architect of the curse that had plagued his community, and seek the justice that had eluded Did for so long. Wendell stepped fully into the room, the door slamming shut behind him, with a resounding thud that reverberated through the air. Vesper's icy blue eyes narrowed, her expression a mask of surprise quickly replaced by a predatory smile.
The fallen journalist returns from his shadow.
Here to beg for forgiveness, or perhaps to plead for scraps of truth. Her voice dripped with condescension, the silver jewelry around her neck glinting ominously. Wendell straightened, shaking off her taunt, his resolve sharpening.
And here we expose you, Vesper.
The curse you've woven around this town, it ends tonight.
Your lies are unraveling, and the people deserve to know the truth.
The weight of her laughter filled the room, cold and cutting.
You think you're some sort of savior. These people are too far-gone.
They thrive on the chaos I've crafted. Their misery fuels my power.
You were merely a pawn in my dean then, and you still are now. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that felt like ice sliding down his spine. Why should I fear a man who already lost everything? Wendell clenched his fists, feeling the heat of his anger surge.
Because I found something you'll never have: integrity.
And I'll use it to dismantle your empire, piece by piece. A flicker of annoyance crossed Vesper's face, but it was quickly masked by a facade of amusement. Integrity? That a noble but foolish ambition, Wendell.
You want to save them, but they don't want to be saved.
Fire is intoxicating, and once tasted, it unquenchable.
You should know better than anyone.
Even the might knight of men fall if the right strings are pulled. Wendell could feel his pulse quickening, every word igniting a fire within him.
This isn't about power. It's about justice. You've manipulated their fears for far too long.
Right to see you, Tarzu.
I may have stumbled in the past, but I'm not that man anymore.
I'll stand up for what.
You can't control the truth forever. As the tension crackled between them, Wendell's conviction steadied hid, despite the tremor of uncertainty in his heart. Vesper's smile faltered, her eyes narrowing as she weighed her options, the air filling with a heavy silence that threatened to snap. In that moment, the curtains of their confrontation drew back, revealing the fragile threads of fate that hung in the balance. But before either could make a move, the faintest sound, a squeaked out the door, split the tension, sending an electric jolt through Wendell.
His heart raced. The reckoning was no longer confined to this room.
Outside, the winds of change were hurling, and he could either seize them or be swept away. As the twilight draped its silken veil over the Weeps riverbank, the air was thick with a palpable tension, mingling with the low, mournful whispers of the gnarled trees that flanked the water edge. The river, dark and murky, reflected the last rays of the sun, casting an ethereal glow that danced across the faces of the deaf townsfolk. They stood huddled together, their expressions a mosaic of skepticism and hope, while the mist hung low like a shroud, amplifying the weight of the moment. Wendell Noxhaven stepped forward, heart pound, his jagged scar a stark reminder of the battles he had fought. Not dead against others, but within himself.
He drew a deep breath, the cool, damp air filling his lungs, and welcomed the quiet before the storm, ready to share a vision of unity that he hoped would mend the rift in their community.
Wendell lifted his chin, casting a quick glance at Vesper Wraithmoor, her icy blue eyes locked onto him with an intensity that made the crowd hold its breath. "We stand again at the edge of a precipice," he began, his voice steady despite the tremor coursing through it. "We can either succumb to the shadows of our past, allowing fear and division to sever us, or we can choose to rebuild an unbreakable trust amongst us. Together, we can forge a new path, one marked by altruism and understanding." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle, the gentle lapping of the river echoing his heart rhythm. Vesper lips curled slightly, a scent of a smirk, but there was no mistaking the flicker of uncertainty in her gaze. "And you believe we should simply forget the past? You think these people will follow you blindly?" Her voice, smooth as silk, yet laced with venom, cut through the air, challenging the very foundation of his newly minted resolve. Wendell took a step, feeling the cool breeze wrap Radtin like a cloak of determination. "This isn't about forgetting Vesper. It's about transcending our mistakes."
We've all felt the weight of betrayal, but that doesn't mean we don't aspire for something greater.
"We must learn from our shadows and emerge into the light." "Hemmed in," Wendell argued, his gaze sweeping over the audience, seeking the flickers of understanding that began to emerge among the somber faces. Behind him, the wise mentor, a figure cloaked in the mists of time, nodded with slow approval, their presence a grounding force, a reminder of the wisdom that lay beneath the surface. Wendell felt a surge of confidence, as if the very essence of the river whispered encouragement. He turned back to face Vesper, who now stood with her arms crossed, the unease in her posture betraying the facade of control she clung to, revealing the cracks in her once ironclad grip on power. The air thickened with the electricity of change as Wendell's voice rang out, cutting through the lingering darkness. "Together, we can build a community that thrives on trust and compassion, where every voice matters." He felt the tide shift as the crowd began to murmur, a swell of agreement rising like the river itself. Vesper, caught in the undertow of the moment, narrowed her eyes, the realization dawning that her time of manipulation was waning. Wendell stood poised at the brink of a new beginning, but the tension in the air hinted at an impending storm, one that could either solidify their unity or tear them apart once more. As he locked eyes with Vesper, the battle line was drawn, and the future of their community hung delicately in the balance, waiting for the next move.